Hello, my friends. I hope you're having an excellent day. My name is Ezra Anderson, and today we're going to create a shield in Affinity Designer. To make our own shield in Affinity Designer, I thought it'd be easiest if we just trace over an existing shield that I found for free online. If you'd like to use the same image that I'm using right here, I've included a download link in the video description. After opening this image in Affinity Designer, the next thing we're going to do is place a guide in the center of the document to make sure we start our tracing right in the very center of the shield, and then we can just trace half of the shield and duplicate that half and put it on the other side. First, we'll need to get out our ruler, which we can do by pressing Command or Control R. Then with the Move tool, we can just click and drag to bring out a guide. If your guideline doesn't automatically snap into the center of your document, just make sure you have snapping turned on up here. After you've placed your guide, we no longer need the ruler out, so we can press Command or Control R again to hide it. Next, we're going to use the pen tool to trace half of our shield, so we'll press P for the pen tool. For this tutorial, I'm going to assume that you know the basics of how the pen tool works, but if you're not familiar with this tool, you can enroll in our Complete Beginner's Guide to Affinity Designer in the video description. We cover the pen tool and all the other most important tools in this program. For now though, I'm going to increase the stroke of my pen tool so you can better see what I'm doing. So I'm going to come up here to the top and press on my stroke and make it 10 points thick. Then I'll just zoom in a little bit and lay down my first node in exactly the center of the document, which we can do because of the guide we laid down earlier. Then I'll come over here and click and drag to make a Bezier curve. And while clicking and dragging, I'm going to hold down Alt or Option so I can make this a sharp corner. Then I'll come down to the bottom and click and drag to make another Bezier curve. If you need to adjust any of the handles, just hold down Command or Control and you can adjust them. We're now done with the pen tool, so I'll press V for the Move tool. And then with this curve selected, I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Command or Control J. Now with the duplicate copy, I'm going to flip it horizontally by clicking Flip Horizontal up here. Then I just need to bring the other half over to the right side. We've now successfully made both halves of our shield, but we can see in the Layers panel there's still two separate curves. To join them together, we're first going to hold down Shift so we can select both of these layers, and then we'll get out the Node tool. Then we can just click and drag to select both of the nodes up here at the top, and then in the context toolbar, we can press Join Curves. Now our two separate curves have become one shape. We no longer need the background image, so I'm going to delete it. Then I'll press Command or Control 0 to see the entire document, and hide our guide by pressing Command or Control semicolon. Next, we'll give our shield a fill color, so go ahead and select the curve, and then give it any color that you want. I think it will look better if we apply a gradient to it, so I'll press G for the fill tool, and then click and drag to make a gradient. Right now, our gradient is going from a light red to dark red. In the center of the shield, though, I want to put a streak of light going through it. To do this, I need to lay down 3 more color stops. To add a color stop, all you need to do is click on the gradient line. Now I'll select the center color stop and turn it into a very light red, almost white. The reason we added 3 color stops is so now we can have this light red color stop without it affecting the rest of our gradient, because these other 2 color stops help keep it the normal red color. I'm going to make my light streak a little bit bigger by bringing out these other 2 color stops. Next, we'll work on the stroke of our shield. I'll press V for the Move tool, and then I'm going to increase the stroke of our shield to 20 points. I also want to apply a gradient to the stroke, so I'm going to press on the black box right here, and then we'll come over to the Gradient tab. By default, there's a gradient from white to black, but since we want the shield to look metallic, I'm going to have it go from gray to dark gray. So I'll select the white color stop, and then change its color to gray. Then I'll select the black color stop, and change its color to dark gray. That looks good, so we can exit out of this Gradient tab. Next, we're going to add a bevel and emboss to make our shield look a little more 3D. But so that you can better see what's happening, I'm first going to add a background to our document. To do this, I'll just select the Rectangle tool and click and drag to make a rectangle. Then I'll give it a blue fill, and select its stroke, and remove it by pressing on this icon here. Then I'll put our rectangle at the bottom of our layer stack, and lock it inside the Layers panel so we don't accidentally move it. Now I'll zoom into the shield so we can better see it by double-clicking on its icon here. Now we'll add the bevel and emboss by having this layer selected, and then clicking on FX. Now we'll come to the Bevel and Emboss section, and turn it on. You can see that our shield now has had this effect applied to it. We're going to change the type, though, from pillow to inner. Then you can increase its radius. That looks good to me, so I'll exit out of this box, and then press Command or Control 0 to see the entire document. If you want to easily change the color of your shield, all you need to do is add an HSL adjustment, which you can do by coming over to the Adjustments icon and then selecting HSL. Then you can give it whatever color you want. You now know how to make a shield in Affinity Designer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next Affinity Revolution tutorial.